Okay, good evening, everybody. It's 6 p.m., February 13th, 2024. This is the Board of Public Works. The first order of business will be roll call. Alderman Husoff Hassan, right? Okay, here, thank you. David Woznicki. Here. Clark Johnson. Chairman Emeritus Jonathan Webster.
Here.
Chairman Charles Porter, I'm here. Ken Skowronski is not present tonight. And Becky Specht.
Here.
Thank you. The next order of business will be the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I take it that everybody has reviewed the minutes for the December meeting. We did not have a January meeting. Is there a motion to accept the minutes as recorded? We have a motion. Is there a second? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Hearing no opposed, motion carries. The next item on the agenda is the public comment period. My clock says it's 6:02. Seeing nobody in the room and nobody coming forward for the public comment period, we'll declare the public comment period closed. The next item, unfinished business. The only note here is that we had no January 2024 meeting. It was canceled. So anything that was on the agenda for that meeting has been moved forward to today. New business. First item on the agenda under 5A is proposed no parking on South Lovers Lane Road. And
okay. And I'm in the wrong
who's
spot.
going to present that, Kevin or Glenn?
I can start it and Kevin can add.
Okay, thank you.
So Lovers Lane, if you're familiar, Speedway, Cortez Circle, Rawson's down here, and just north of Rawson on the west side of the road is a service road. As I understand that during snow fighting operations, it's very difficult that most nights there are tractor trailers parked along sometimes both sides of the road, and it makes it very difficult to plow. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes.
Okay. So looking at the situation, this is not prompted by a resident asking for us to consider no parking. This is an internal staff request. So we are proposing an ordinance to modify, and the draft ordinance is in front of you to basically show what we're looking to do. So basically it would restrict parking on both sides of the street. Parking lots should be large enough to facilitate their own customers. They really don't need to be parking on Lovers Lane, is our feeling.
Okay, you've heard his presentation. Are there any questions? Jonathan?
Have you talked to the motel and gotten their input on this?
Don't believe we have we?
No.
I would assume that the trucks are generally overnight stays at the hotel.
We would assume so.
Well, yes and no. Some of them are there for prolonged periods of time, like weeks,
Like months.
not a month.
I've seen them there for
And
months.
sometimes they just drop the trailers there and take the trucks and leave the area. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Just curious, are there trucks there now?
I didn't go by there today,
Yeah,
so,
curious.
but most days there are.
I drive by there every night. I just don't even notice, because I'm not on service road.
If I may, it's usually people that are in the area on temporary work assignments, and they'll come in. I know some of the people that have stayed there, and it's crews, they'll do like a long-term rental in the hotel, and they'll leave their equipment laying around once in a while. So it doesn't make it right, but I've seen it happen on and off for years. Are there any other questions or comments? Well, then I guess we're looking for a motion to support this.
Yeah, so I'm looking for a motion to recommend that both sides be designated as no parking, if that be your desire.
I'll make the motion to recommend to council to adopt a modification to the municipal code section to 245-5D to designate no parking on both sides of the West Service Road of South Lovers Lane from the intersection of South Phyllis Lane to a point 450 feet north as described.
Okay, that was a good motion. Is there a second? Okay, we've got a motion and it's been seconded. Any comment? Hearing none. All those in favor of this motion, please signify by saying aye. 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 Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. The next one is proposed no parking on Sycamore Street.
Similar issue. After the snowstorm, Kevin came in and said they've got a problem with folks parking big rigs and tractor trailers on this dead-end section of Sycamore Street. So to orient yourself, this is 27th Street. You've got Sam's Club, Walmart, Home Depot, and then Planet Fitness right here, and there's UW Credit Union. So, but when I was looking at this, I realized that this whole section is not prohibited parking. And I can tell you when you turn into, say, you're going towards Home Depot, it seems like it's always a pinch point in my feeling. But I don't know that there's any place along Sycamore that I would allow parking or should be allowed parking. So for whatever reason, this has never been designated as no parking. So you could just consider the area of concern down on the west end, but as written, I would propose that we have no parking on both sides of Sycamore Street from 27th all the way to the end, which is roughly 1,800 feet.
Okay. Any questions?
Okay, so I'll ask. How many lanes of traffic? I think there are 3 coming out of Sycamore Street to 27th Street.
So,
And then I think there's
at the intersection itself, once you get past the turns, there's 1, 2. Well, so there's 1 through, 1 turn right, and 2 turn lefts. And then coming in, there's 2 lanes. And down here, I believe it converges to really just 1 lane.
I believe that at this time, there's no pass-through to off of Sycamore to that first left-hand turn. Right off 27th Street. There's no pass-through on where all those lanes are right there to that frontage road, just to the left of your screen there.
Right here?
Yeah. There's no pass-through from coming in across there, correct?
Well, yeah. So if you're leaving there's the bus terminal for the Purple Line is right here, coming out. This is a raised median. It's not much of a raise, but you're prohibited from turning left here. You'd have to turn right.
Okay. Just so I'm understanding.
Yeah,
So-
and by the looks of it, there really appears to be no reason that anybody should be parking on either side of that road because there's plenty of parking lot.
I visit, thanks to Home Depot likes my business. I don't think I've ever seen anyone park here, but in reality, there's no reason to. So that's why I said as long as we've opened up the code book to restrict parking here, let's go ahead and just make it so you don't have somebody trying to park. Because if you restrict parking here, maybe some of those tractor trailers will start parking along here, then you just start chasing them towards 27th Street, was my theory.
Okay, so you've heard the presentation. Would somebody like to make a motion to accept this ordinance modification to the municipal code? Okay, thank you. As stated in the, on the top of the draft here, so, oh, okay.
A
Down to the-
friendly amendment to recommend to council because we can't approve it.
Okay,
Oh, sorry.
So a friendly amendment to
Adopt,
recommend to council because
Yes.
we can't approve it.
right.
and
He
that
can,
applies
he
to
can
all-
approve it.
I make the motion for option A to adopt ordinance 2023, an ordinance to modify the municipal code, section 245, 5D, designating no parking on both sides of West Sycamore Street from South 27th Street to a termination point at approximately 1,800 west of intersection with the South 27th Street.
Okay, we've heard the motion. Is there a second? Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing no opposed, the motion carries. Thank you very much. Next item, authorized sale of Department of Public Works vehicles and equipment. That's on 5C. And Kevin, will you be talking about that?
Sure. Yearly, we come to you with asking for permission to sell some vehicles and miscellaneous equipment that's no longer useful or has any life left to it. This year, we have two vehicles. One of them is our old F-150. The other vehicle, Ford Taurus, has been kind of a hand-me-down, originally to PD, then Health, or us, then Health Department. And so we're asking to get rid of that. Then we've got an old plow and side wing, and then just miscellaneous parts that are no longer used or we found, and we're just wanting to clean house a little bit. So, we use the same place, Auction House Associates, and they've done a great job for us, got excellent prices, and we want to continue working with them.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any questions? None? Somebody like to make a motion to authorize the sale of the equipment or to put this out there?
So I'll make the motion to place this on the Auction Associates site for these 4 items for the March 9th auction.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second to Mr. Webster's motion? Okay, thank you very much. Any further discussion? Seeing none,
One quick
Go.
question.
go ahead.
Seller scrap. You do mention seller scrap, so I'm assuming that refers to some of the miscellaneous equipment that
Yeah.
might just end up being scrapped.
Yes.
What happens in the case of a scrap of whatever? Does Auction Associates takes care of that, or does it come back to us and we take care of it?
If they can't sell it for whatever reason, then it's just scrapped and we get scrap prices.
It doesn't leave your site if it doesn't sell, correct?
Everything goes to this
Okay,
site.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Everything goes to their site?
Yep.
So it physically moves?
They will come and pick it up, take it to
Okay.
their site, and I believe it's around Angelac, I believe. And they take it and handle everything.
Thank you.
Then we get compensated for the scrap price
Yes.
with some handling charge, of course, that they would,
Yeah, they take a percentage of all sales.
okay. So we've got a motion, it's been seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing no opposed, the motion carries. Thank you very much. This is going pretty quick. Next item is the authorization to purchase a front end loader. This came off of the January meeting that was canceled. So, again, you'll find the information in your folder. And Kevin, did you want to explain or give us a heads up on this one?
We're asking for in the 2024 capital outlay fund, there was $460,000 put us in there for the purchase of a front end loader. We went to council asking for permission to go out for a quote, and then coming to the Board of Public Works with that quote, and hopefully receiving your approval. Then we'll go back to council and ask for their approval then. So this is one of the steps. We have cat loaders currently. That's why we want to stay with cat loaders. We went out for a quote. It came back, as I believe in everyone's packet, $397,600 for the loader, and then at the two prices are for either a plow and wing, or the second is a metal press. It's basically a plow, pusher box, wing. We're not entirely, we would really like to have both, but we only have enough funds to purchase one of them, so we believe we'll just go with the front mounted plow and wing at this time.
Okay. I'm questioning, so this would go more than just in the yard? It would go out on the road and stuff?
It'll go on the road in the wintertime.
Okay. All right. Does anybody else have any other questions or anything they'd like?
Yeah, you said that the budget is available for this. The money is
$460,000 is available in the budget, and this is roughly $445,000.
so we
we're
have the money
under-
to
yeah.
buy it then.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Just for clarification, I think I added it up and came up at 445, 400 for the two items. Does everybody agree with that?
And this is replacing an existing piece of equipment, or it's an addition to existing equipment?
This is an addition.
Okay.
How long do we service a front end loader? How long does our department?
We try to get anywhere between 16 and 18 years out of it,
Okay.
that we feel
Current
it's
one that we have?
reliable.
Right.
Currently, we have one that's roughly 6 years old, and the other one I believe is like, I want to say 9 years old.
Okay.
So we try to get 16, 18, but you never know nowadays. Equipment ain't made like it used to, so.
So we've got, this would be the third one in our, I'll call it, in our
Fleet.
fleet, thank you. And it would be, I'm just curious, what's the availability of these types of machines, for you? Like the one that's 9 years old, for instance. I'm assuming it's a cat also.
Yes.
Do you have an idea of what its availability is for you during the year? Because I think I read in here, it said that, you pretty much use these things all year long, if not every day, 4 times a week,
Oh, yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. it's
So
probably more-
what's the availability of the machines that you currently have? I'm just curious.
You mean in the wintertime or all year?
No, all year long. I mean,
Sure.
you always have maintenance issues coming up and everything like that. Are they available 90% of the time? Are they available 95? That's kind of the question
I
I'm
would
asking.
say they're very reliable, so I would say 95% of the time they're
90,
very
95?
available. Yep.
Okay.
They're very reliable and very operator friendly, which is saying something nowadays. So
And the specs on the particular machine that we're talking about, was it the MB, whatever, of this particular, the 950BR
yes,
is similar to the ones that we currently have in-house.
it's one size larger.
Okay.
And the reason I did that is right now, as like yourself probably know, we have an Oshkosh, which is they're built like a tank. I mean, they're just, but it's a 1985. I've been asking to replace it for many years. They're very expensive. The budget just ain't there.
Sure.
So my hope is if that would go down, which is very likely, that this could help us out
In a pinch.
especially in the wintertime. So I'm just trying to plan ahead here because I know that day is coming very fast. So.
Okay.
Well, you said this is kind of to replace or back up an Oshkosh truck that we
Yeah.
currently have?
Because in the wintertime, that Oshkosh, if we have a major storm, that Oshkosh goes out and helps everybody get on. I know if they're stuck or if we have major drifting or, a blizzard or something, that truck goes out. It's really the only truck we have of that size and capabilities.
Yeah, it's pretty much like a tank.
Yeah, it just is, it's a single axle 4x4 and it just moves snow and does what you want.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right. Are there any other questions? Yes, Alderman. No questions? Okay, well, we've all heard the proposal and the explanation and everything else. Would somebody like to make a motion to authorize the purchase of this and forward it gets forwarded to the Common Council for final approval, correct?
Yes.
So, would somebody like to make that motion?
Sure, I will make the motion of purchase a 2023 Caterpillar 950-PR front end wheel loader with a Burke front mounted plow and wind and metal plus PRO 2048-80LE from Sourcewell for a total value of $397,600.
Okay.
Is that right?
Well,
No.
No. I was gonna say it's a 2024.
Yep.
And secondarily, with the front plow attached, it's $445,400.
Say it again.
With the Burke front mounted plow,
Just the number. What's the number?
$445,400.
Thank you.
445400.
Okay,
I'll
Yeah.
second.
and,
With those changes, I will second.
okay, and we have a second. Okay, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing no opposed, the motion carries. Okay, the next item is 5E.
So this item is specifically in regards to driveway culverts in city right-of-way. So the way it's handled here in the city and in our municipal code is our Department of Public Works replaces or installs or resets driveway culvert pipes in city right-of-way. This helps to make sure that we size it appropriately, it's pitched correctly, and is installed with enough cover under the pavement, and just uniformity overall. The current schedule of costs for a resident was set in 2018. It's included in the packet. So the way the municipal code is written is that schedule needs to be approved by the Board of Public Works. So this would be an update to that schedule of costs. So the new schedule of costs is also attached. Just to kind of give you guys an idea, currently today, if let's say a resident wanted their 15-inch diameter culvert pipe replaced in their driveway, it would cost them about $700 through our permitting process. That pipe from the supplier would cost DPW almost $550 to $570 in most cases from a typical supplier. So right there, we're not quite at the point of breaking even, but when you factor in DPW costs, time, and
Stone.
using their equipment, stone, generally there's at least 10 feet of landscaping and restoration on each side of the culvert pipe that needs to be done. So in essence, on a typical culvert pipe installation, the city overall is paying probably about $2,000 extra on top of whatever the cost of the pipe and whatever the cost of the permit is. So looking at, we got updated quotes from material suppliers. Just kind of another example, it's a 30-inch diameter pipe. There aren't a ton of those, but some locations in the city, there's a lot of water that flows through the ditches, and we have larger pipes. Today, the way our current schedule of costs is, it would cost the DPW more to purchase a 30-inch diameter culvert pipe than we would charge a resident to install it. So, in a lot of these cases, like I said, our costs are more than $2,000 over what the resident is paying in permit fees. So, engineering and public works came together, got quotes from suppliers. We also reached out to a couple of private contractors to get an idea of what a resident would pay if they went with a private contractor. So if you look at the new schedule of costs, you'll see it's a pretty significant increase. The reason for that being the existing or current schedule of costs didn't really account for any DPW time or equipment or labor. So a bulk of the lost money, if you will, was from that. So this new schedule, essentially, we came together with DPW and figured out what a typical culvert installation time and equipment would be used, and put a dollar amount to that. So what our goal was to basically make it a break even for the city. So there's really no markup on our end. It's just, what DPW would pay to purchase the culvert pipe and what time and equipment they would use out there, and then additional stone and whatever else they would need to complete the job would basically be a wash. So under the new schedule, if a resident wanted their 15-inch diameter culvert pipe replaced, it would cost them, through our permitting, about $2,800. The all-in cost for DPW to do that work, to purchase the pipe, the stone, to have the 3 or 4 employees out there with the equipment to finish that would be, about a $16 difference. So it would be almost right dead even. Obviously, not every case is typical. Some might require 100 feet of ditching. Some might require only the 10 feet, but that's pretty hard to and time-consuming to put a number to for each culvert pipe that comes in. So we tried to just make it a uniform number across the board. So just to give you an idea, so one of our technicians reached out to several different private contractors just to get a ballpark figure of what it would cost to do the same work, not including any pavement on top. So the quotes he received were anywhere between $3,500 and $6,500. So even in the low-end scenario for a private contractor to do it, it's still saving the residents, $600 to $700. I don't think that low end is very typical. As last year, some of the residents said they had, before they reached out to the city, knowing that this was our process, they had gotten quotes from contractors for about $5,000. So, and that's not including any asphalt or concrete on top. So, I guess we would be looking for a motion to approve the updated schedule. So it's really just an update to those prices for that, and it's kind of an all-in price. Our existing schedule did include the option for asphalt on top performed by DPW. That really hasn't been done in several years. And Kevin may be able to weigh in on that more, but I think it's just a time and manpower, and just purchasing that material and equipment is even more of a net loss for the city. And then I guess one other thing to keep in mind is the new pricing, it still doesn't account for the time I would spend, or our permit technician processing those, or our survey tech who goes out there and sets grades for the DPW. So, the residents are still getting a net benefit by not having to pay all those costs. So, while it is a significant increase, we think it's still saving the residents money over using a private contractor, and kind of helping DPW out by washing the costs.
So I'm going to reiterate a few things that Tyler already covered, but I just want to stress them, I guess. So the Common Council doesn't have to approve this. This is approved by the Board of Public Works. When we adopted this in 2018, I'm pretty sure I took this to Common Council just as an FYI for informational only, really to put it out there so everyone knows what the prices are. And I will do the same for these prices, whatever you choose here tonight. So again, the big thing is that we're shifting a little bit from going from really just covering materials to now covering materials and covering some labor and equipment. Again, it's still a good deal for the residents, but we have, till I'm blue in the face, talked about how we just don't have enough manpower to do what we're looking to do, and we need to generate some more funds to pay for some of these other things we're doing. So I think it's a win-win overall. I suppose some could look at it and say, wow, if I would have ordered my culvert last year, I would have saved, a bunch of money. But, you got to make that transition sometimes. But it's still, pay for the service. I think in the past it was, you need some sort of benefit if you live in the city, which I can understand the argument. However, most of the city doesn't have culverts. They have the storm pipe underneath their driveways and such that they don't need these kinds of things. So for those that are the luxury of not having to pay for the more expensive lots, this is probably not a bad thing. And then when we do repaving, so as a reminder, when we do repaving like on Putes Road, we go through and we replace those at our cost. We don't charge residents for that, correct? So I would just want to make sure you understand that we are doing a little bit of a shift. It's not just upgrading, based on, construction costs from 2018 to 2023, which have gone up significantly. But this is really kind of a shift, and we're trying to shift some of the burden where we can actually recoup some more cost. We can afford things at DPW.
Okay. Now I'm just curious. Let's say you did have a private contractor come in and do the work. The city still has to go out and do a survey for setting elevation and height, and is also a permitting process?
So we would. So we would. So it would go to Tyler. Tyler would do some drainage calculation. I mean, in theory.
Currently the current process is only DPW
correct
installs them. So no private contractors would be allowed to do that work in the right way.
But
we just wanted to get those quotes to compare the costs.
Okay. All right.
But we would. But I was trying to answer. We would still want to tell the contractor, tell the homeowner, you will put, say, a 15-inch pipe. It needs to be at this slope, and we would probably send our technician going out to at least set some grades so that they know how to set it. So we would still, if you will, eat those kinds of costs. So, but like Tyler said, we don't allow that because we like to do it ourselves because while we're there, we get to clean up some other things over there too.
Control of the process.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. I didn't know that. See, North Cape used to be a county trunk. So Franklin didn't deal with it then. So my experience has been with the county until it was handled.
We had a gentleman over on the east side, not your neighborhood, over on the east side last year that thought he was smart and tried to install the culvert himself, and we cited him for working right without a permit, and he paid heavily for that pipe that he did.
Ouch. Okay. Well, does anybody have any further questions regarding this proposal? Yes, Mr. Webster.
So, in the dregs of my mind, at one time we had a policy set up. I remember when this came through, and I don't have a problem with this. But it seems to me at one time we also had a policy that came across this board that talked about the reason that the asphalt thing comes up, I think, is because there were some culverts that people had, concrete drives, and if we were replacing the concrete drives, we said we weren't going to replace with concrete, we were going to go with asphalt. I'm just asking, is that a policy that we still have in place, and do we need to add just that as well as this in terms of policies? It's just something in the back of my mind that I think that we approved at one time. Maybe it was changed, and I'm confused.
It is I believe it's in our municipal code that any driveway replacement that the DPW would do or the city would do with anything would be asphalt, and that's it. I believe that's in the municipal code. Yeah.
But that typically happens when we say repave a neighborhood. We'll go in.
I guess and I should have mentioned it, but it's important to keep in mind. I guess another reason we don't get as many requests for asphalt too, because typically when someone comes in for a driveway culvert permit, it's when they're going to have their driveway resurfaced or new concrete put in. So, it works better for everyone, I think, too, to have our guys go in first, get it done. Their contractor can do the full pass and not have asphalt from one contractor, asphalt from the city matching up against each other.
But that does present a problem like when we go through like last year we did Hawthorne. I'm sure there were some places that were probably concrete approaches that we would chip up because we need to improve the road, and when we put it back, we put back asphalt. Some people are a little miffed about that.
Yeah, I remember doing something about that, but I don't know when it was done. I remember it. So I didn't know if that if that was contradictory to what we're saying here, in terms of asphalt, no asphalt.
In practice, we don't replace asphalt. Say like an Oakwood Road kind of thing. We wouldn't go back and asphalt it.
Is there a time that the city would replace a culvert at our cost for maintenance purposes? Like, let's say the culvert rusts out and fails, and it obviously needs to be replaced. Is that the homeowner's responsibility, or is there a situation where it would be our responsibility?
That would be the homeowner's responsibility.
Homeowners? Okay.
I mean, I'm not saying there's not special circumstances where, I can't think off the top of my head what it would be, but I mean, we're always open to if something would be.
I think if we found out that the culvert pipe had been installed with damaged or something and we just weren't aware of it, we would try and at least investigate it enough to make sure we're not just charging residents for it.
I just seem to think that, I seem to remember that there were a couple of people that came in and they petitioned the city to replace, and I don't remember if it was an elevation problem or a drainage problem or something.
Yeah.
But, okay, I don't have any, personally, I have no problem with this, and it makes perfect sense what you're trying to do. So, is there any further discussion regarding this? Any further questions? And we have the authority to adopt this ourselves. Would somebody like to make the motion to,
I'll make the motion.
okay, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Would anybody like to second that? Okay, thank you. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion before we go to a vote? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries.
And again, I'll put this on the common council just as informational purposes only.
Okay. Next item, South 100 Detour Approval Request from Wisconsin Department of Transportation.
For those who aren't familiar with the process, once upon a time, city engineer would get these requests and just sign off on them. I found you can actually add some good input sometimes, so you sometimes think of things I don't think of. This is a detour request. They're just asking that we as the local municipality sign off that we're okay with this. If we have any concerns or problems, we bring them up. This is for a DOT project, State Trunk Highway 100 from 60th Street up to St. Martin Street. They plan to close this down. This is going to really shut the town down in 2025. So it's going to be from March 1st, 2025 till about December 31st, 2025. They're going to completely dig up State Trunk Highway, basically put it back with, for the most part, the same footprint. They'll make some intersection improvements, but for the most part, it'll look like the same road when they're all done. They're actually going to put a pathway in for us, too. We're paying a pathway. We're actually paying them for that.
Okay.
And but by doing that, they're actually going to close the road down from 60th Street all the way up to Loomis, and then from Loomis up to St. Martin will be actually a work zone. The road will be open, but it'll be you'll be driving through a construction zone. So they're proposing a detour that would go from 60th Street to the east to 27th Street, 27th Street up to Rawson over to Loomis, and then vice versa backwards if you go in the other direction. So if you have any thoughts or comments, I'd be happy to collect those thoughts or comments and pass those on to the DOT when I give them my response.
Okay. I just have one sort of unrelated question, I guess. It has to do with the project, though. Are they going to continue the median from 60th Street west like it is from 60th Street east?
No, I don't believe so. So, as I'm told, once upon a time, they were going to make this 4-lane all the way through,
Right.
Basically from 27th to Hales Corners would be all 4-lane. about probably 6-7 years ago. They looked at it and the traffic volume just wasn't there, so they decided to save some money. This time it's going to basically stay at 2-lane, and someday in the future, probably I would imagine the next time the traffic volumes to be there, that they will increase it to 4-lane at that time. But for the time being, no, it's for the most part it'll have the same footprint as what you see out there now. Again, just improving some intersections like 76th Street, improving the queue lanes and things like that.
Okay, thank you. So then you don't really, is this more an information thing, or do you need a motion for this?
I don't need a motion. I'm soliciting your comments, if any.
Okay.
And if you just think this one's pretty simple, but if you have any thoughts or comments that you want me to pass on to DOT, this is your opportunity to provide that input.
Go ahead.
Okay, so my question is, for when the roadway is shut down, I believe, well, first there's the Stubb Street at 80th Street, and then there is a couple of homes, I believe, on the kind of the north side of the road, going from Loomis Road towards Ryan Road. What happens to those homes when the road is tore up? How's their access work?
So it'll be like any other construction zone where I would imagine they're going to put up no through traffic. So maybe sometimes you may have to come from the east, maybe sometimes you have to come from the west, or if you do come in from the east all the time, you'll have to drive around some big deep holes and be very careful when you drive.
Okay.
But they should allow access to all residents and businesses, including DPW. By the way, they'll be considerably shrinking our nice wide entrance to our gas pumps.
Yeah, how does this affect you and your access to the city and, Kevin, for plowing and getting around? Because that changes how you're going to move around, doesn't it?
We're hoping to allow us to have access at all times throughout the whole construction period, just at least to get to 76th Street.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about, your normal routes, even for plowing or whatever, that's going to be kind of
Yeah, the west side guys will have to take 76 to Ross and then come around.
So, as an example, this past year, if you were on Forest Home when you should not have been, unless you live there, you could always drive through the site. Sometimes you had to drive on the northbound lane, sometimes you had to drive on the southbound lane. They would at least, gravel where you could get into your driveway kind of thing. So for people that live there or need to go there, it should be open somehow.
Mm.
In general, I think they've thought this one through a little bit. They're not using 51st Street with the school. I'm glad to hear that. Obviously 76th Street's not available, so I think they've made the only real choice they could make for a detour that's logical. So I think, this one's pretty straightforward from my perspective.
Yeah, I know, I agree. Does anybody else have any comments or suggestions you'd like to share with Glenn that he could forward to the state or agency who's going to be doing this? If not, then I would say thank you for the presentation. I don't think there's any further action on this. And we can move to the item G, council proceedings, procedure for commencing projects. And this, you're going to give us?
Yeah.
Hey, Kevin.
Good night, Kevin.
So a few weeks ago at a department head meeting, it was brought out that we have this actually as a requirement. And I've been here 9 years. We haven't really done this, but I've been told that we're going to start making this regular practice. So the council proceedings, procedures for commencing projects. So initiation of projects, proposed projects shall be initiated by the following methods at a regular meeting of the council. 1, recommendation of the city engineer and or the Board of Public Works. And then if you read on down in B, city council action on adoption of motion to consider project refer the project to respective committees for recommendations as follows. And the Board of Public Works is first there with all public works projects. And then C, procedural steps of the Board of Public Works. So it's got several steps there to consider. So we're going to phase into this. So you're going to start seeing a lot more projects come before this board. So say a park project, a trail project, pretty much every public works project that we have, if you will come here, and I'll try my best to outline those for you to consider. The affected drainage areas. Could the city be done with or a private contractor or both? And anyway, this is a shall be, and it's just something to my knowledge hasn't been here for quite a while. And Ron never passed this knowledge on to me when we overlapped, so I don't know when they quit doing this. I don't know when it was adopted, but it's been around for quite some time, and the city just got out of this habit some probably decades ago. So we're going to start. I just wanted to give you this warning, that we're going to probably start stacking your agenda items probably a little fuller, especially towards the beginning of the year as we're considering projects. So there's a lot of projects already in the works that kind of water under the bridge. We're not going to work on. We're not going to backtrack. But as new projects start to come up, I'm going to probably start bringing them for your thoughts, because when I take them to Common Council to be approved, I want that information to be there, that you've looked at it. Would you assess someone for it, that sort of thing? Any thoughts or questions on the procedure?
I guess the thought that comes to my mind is just mainly to make this board aware of the project's existence, where in the past we weren't necessarily aware of it. Is that correct?
Correct. And we've talked some about, like, we're doing some, we call them PPII projects. We've talked about maybe making a presentation before the board. Well, in hindsight, that should have come before the board. That's a public works project where we're providing storm lines for people to put their sump pumps into. This summer, where, again, Kayla's playground is a public works project. We should have discussed what we're going through with the board in place surface. We've got trail projects that we're having DOT do that we're going to assess the neighborhood for. Those kinds of discussions we should, and according to this, we should have brought that here. To my knowledge, that hasn't been done in, again, decades, but we'll start working on that. Again, I'm not going to backtrack with projects already in the queue, but as new projects pop up, I will start bringing them for at least your comment and discussion on them before we proceed.
Okay.
Too deep.
Isn't there, and I'm kind of trying to remember, something where all the sidewalks were supposed to be connected? What was that called?
That was a connectivity project.
Yeah, there used to be a connectivity committee, and when I started here, such a committee existed. Then one year, no one was appointed to the committee, so the committee died. But
There was the real issue with the connectivity committee
Okay.
was that they did not have any, for them to do anything in terms of putting in a path or putting in a connection or whatever, they didn't have funds allocated. They always had to come back here. And there was there was not a good communication lines between us and them.
Okay. Well, the reason I ask is there were projects like that did come before this
Sure.
board from time to time, that we were aware of, but.
well,
Okay.
and utility projects. I mean, we're putting up a new water tower and water mains, and the way I interpret this, I would bring that here, regardless if it's a utility project.
Okay. So again, this is just basically an FYI. for your-
FYI, so when you start seeing projects show up, that's why.
Okay. This is basically information only. There's no motion necessary.
Correct.
You've got an item on here, future agenda items.
Is there anything that you think of that you'd like to see on future agendas? This is your chance to say, hey, we'd like to talk about something, and it would give me at least a month to scrape something together to present to you.
Okay, does anybody have any thoughts of things that they'd like to see in the agenda that we don't currently have in the agenda? And if not, is this sort of an open request, so if something comes
Yeah,
to
so
mind?
this agenda item will still be here for future agendas. And if something comes up, you can make a comment at the next meeting.
So we don't have to forever hold our peace?
No.
Okay. All right. Scheduling for the next meeting is going to be Tuesday, March 12th, 2024. Does anybody have any further questions before we ask for an adjournment? Becky?
Just to confirm, since we didn't have a meeting in January, I don't think we actually took a vote to approve the December meeting notes?
I thought we did tonight.
We did a vote?
I think you did.
Yeah, that was tonight, and it was to approve the December 12th, 2023
Okay, who made
minutes.
the motion and who seconded?
I think I made the motion.
Jonathan seconded.
Johnson, not me.
Oh, Clark, okay. Clark Johnson. And I tell you what, I'm going to say this publicly, thank you, thank you, thank you for doing what you're doing. So I think everybody knows that John used to always take his own minutes and record everything down, and I am absolutely terrible at it. I wasn't good in grade school, and I'm not good now. And Becky has agreed, being the elected recorder, to take on that responsibility, and I thank her very much for doing that. So, with that, do you have anything else to ask? No. I will listen for a motion to adjourn.
So be it.
Thank you. Clark Johnson, and second?
I second.
Alderman, thank you for the second, and we are adjourned at 6:52 p.m.